throughout, but like I am going to definitely leave some time for questions at the end. So yeah, the recording will be mostly so we can share it with folks who registered but weren't able to attend, and we'll turn it off when we're done. So yeah, this is a 3-part series that we're doing. This is the third of 3 parts. The first one, we talked about the business manager and the ads manager and proper setup. So if you missed that, you should go back and watch that recording. It's on YouTube. And that'll give you some of the kind of the groundwork of like, where are we when we're talking about running ads? I'll allude to that a little bit today, but we covered that in session 1. In session 2, we covered building audiences. So it's super important to understand who you're talking to. And in a lot of ways, I find that that's one of the most important and often overlooked parts of running Facebook ads. We covered that in session number 2. So you can also see that recording at a later date if you missed it. Today, we're going to be talking about actually like getting an ad up and running. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I actually have a little deck, and then we're going to switch into, 1 second. So I'm going to start us in my deck. So just last week, I did a session at Dreambank on 10 tips to get more out of your Facebook ads. So I went ahead and reworked that deck a little bit to fit today's session. So I removed a bunch of stuff, and we're just going to cover a couple of the pieces, and then we're actually going to jump into the ads manager. Yeah, and I definitely feel free to ask questions as we go. I see we have chat, and I can't see it. How do I see that? This is annoying.
Josh, I can help you with the chat while you present.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll let you know when questions pop up.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, it's like being annoying about how I can see things and not. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, everything looks
okay, cool. So we're going to jump in and talk about, 1 second, freaking Zoom and double monitors on an Apple. They love to mess things up. Okay, so yeah, we're going to talk about a couple top level things, and then we're going to jump in. So first of all, when you're running an ad, you need to understand what's the difference in your objectives. So you hit create ad, and this is all predicated on the idea that you're not hitting boost post right on Facebook. So I will go ahead and say that 100% of your ad, 100% should be built in the ads manager, even if your goal is to quote unquote boost a post, and we'll talk about what that means. But you should never run any ads from Facebook. You should run all of them from the ads manager. So when you go into the ads manager, you hit create to create an ad, and suddenly you have a bunch of options, right? So you have, these are all different types of objectives. Now, here's the thing. All of these objectives are going to look almost identical to the user. What's going to matter is how Facebook optimizes for results. And that's why understanding objective is so important, because a video view ad and a traffic ad and a conversion ad, all those things look the same to the user. What's different is how Facebook is trying to get results for you. Facebook legitimately wants you to succeed, but they need you to tell them what you want success to look like. So I always say, you get many asks in a Facebook ad, but you really only get one ask. And that one ask is what the objective is. And if you say, a lot of people say like, well, I want people to watch my video, click on the link, learn more about us, buy the thing, come back, like the page. That ain't going to happen. Like, you get one ask in a Facebook ad, and that ask is the objective. So let's go through what your different options are when it comes to objectives on Facebook. So first of all, we have awareness campaigns. So I liken awareness ads to billboards. They are very low cost and very low efficiency, but there are times where all you want to do is raise name ID. So brand awareness ads can be great. I actually use them often in politics when I run a lot of political ads. When my primary goal is not votes or money, but simply name ID, brand awareness is great. If you were trying to sell shoes, brand awareness is probably not the way to go. If you're trying to just like get people to know like, hey, we're now in your neighborhood, or hey, we're like, they will be very inexpensive, very low like result. Literally a result for a brand awareness ad is that somebody stopped scrolling and stared at your ad for 2 seconds. So if that would be a win for you, great. If not, awareness is not an objective that you want to take advantage of. And like I said, I use them all the time, but they are not right for every campaign. A traffic ad. A traffic ad is literally you are trying to send traffic to some place. You want people to click on your ad and go to your website. That is a traffic ad. So you want to make sure that you understand that. Do not boost a post if you're trying to get traffic, because Facebook's not optimizing for traffic. They're optimizing for engagement, which takes us to engagement. So with an engagement ad, Facebook is optimizing for video views, photo views, links, shares, comments, and likes. So if you want people to engage with your post, an engagement post is the way to do it. I run engagement posts all the time, but you want to do it smartly. You want to make sure that there's a reason to it. So again, if you're trying to sell shoes, the bottom of funnel people, the people, like we talked about this last time with like the funnel, the people that already know you, an engagement ad might not be the way to like get them to buy shoes. But if you're just trying to like remind them you exist, let them know you have this new line coming out, like engage them, great. An engagement ad is great. There's absolutely room for engagement ads. Just make sure that you understand when, why, and for what purpose. Lead ads, I'm a big fan of, especially when folks don't have great websites. So what's cool about a lead ad is that you can actually build an ad on Facebook that never leaves Facebook. So somebody sees the ad, it has a call to action in it, they click the call to action, and instead of leaving the site like a traffic ad, it actually opens up a box that pre-fills in your name and email. And then that person then has the opportunity to hit submit. So it's not automatic. But if you do that, you are literally giving that advertiser your name and email and any other information you choose to give it that they ask for. So like an advertiser can ask for an email address. They can ask for, are you a homeowner? Or excuse me, a phone number. They can ask, are you a homeowner? They can ask, do you have kids? They can ask whatever they want. You get to decide whether or not to answer. A lead ad can be a very powerful tool depending on the client. I helped set up lead ads for a client in Florida who's running like in like the cryo health space. And he has been running these lead ads for years. He's like built an entire practice on top of these lead ads. It's actually pretty amazing. I've also seen lead ads bust hard. Like, you know, we set them up, we work really hard, we think we've got it tapped in and they just don't work. So lead ads are not magic. Part of it is what you're asking people for, and part of it is your process to engage folks once they have given you their info. So we can talk more about that during Q&A if folks want, but lead ads are a really cool tool in your arsenal that you should be familiar with. And then we're skipping app promotion. I've never really run app promotion ads, even when I work with app folks. So if that's your thing, like we can talk about it during Q&A, but yeah, not something I run very often. But the last one is sales. So traditionally we've called these conversion ads. Conversion ads are obviously like amazing. I can tell Facebook, I want to make sales on my website, tell it to build an ad for that, and bang, it's magic. I can make sales. Of course, that's not true. So a conversion ad is only as good as Facebook's data collection process. So a conversion ad is, it might be sign up for my newsletter, donate to my nonprofit, buy my product, visit this website, this landing page on my website. You can build a conversion for a bunch of different things. The problem is until you have 10 to 15 of those coming in a day, Facebook is going to struggle to understand what a conversion looks like. So you're not going to just be easily able to say like, okay, well, I launched my website yesterday. Now let me start running conversion ads and making sales, because Facebook's going to struggle to understand what a conversion is. But if you've already got those conversions coming in, Facebook can learn from you, and bang, you can start making sales through your Facebook ads. So it's one of those things that you kind of, I encourage most of my clients who want to run those to build to them. Don't just start with them, but like start with other things and work their way up. So those are your different campaign objectives. And again, if you go on Facebook and just hit boost, or you go in the ads manager and just hit create and don't know what you're doing, and you're not paying attention to your objective, the ads look the same. The average user won't tell the difference. The difference is how Facebook is optimizing that campaign. So if you really want to be able to drive sales or engagement or traffic or video views or whatever, picking the right optimization, like the right objective, is crucial, because otherwise Facebook is trying to do something that you don't actually want. So that's objectives. Sarah, I see we have a comment again. I can't see it without like messing things up. Anything? Should I keep moving?
No worries. I was just welcoming questions in the chat, or they can help
Perfect.
you for your Q&A at the end.
Yeah, so yeah, if there's anything that's like general, we can definitely cover it at the end. But if you want to interrupt me, you can. Like that's what this whole thing's for. Okay, so with that, we're going to talk about campaign hierarchy. So a campaign has 3 parts, and I liken it to a pyramid. So at the top of your pyramid, you have your campaign. Your campaign is then made up of one or many ad sets. That's up to you. And each ad set is then made up of one or many ads. So you can see how it gets bigger and bigger from the top to the bottom. So the campaign is where you determine your objective. So literally, that's like the main thing you're determining at your campaign. I have run ad campaigns in the tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars that only had like whole campaigns for candidates and products, and the entire project only had like maybe 3 or 4 campaigns total. The biggest mistake I see a ton of people make is they have flat campaigns where there's one campaign, one ad set, one ad. And the problem with doing that is you're not giving Facebook the opportunity to A/B test your content against itself. Everything within a campaign can be A/B tested against itself. But if you have flat campaigns, then everyone is a brick wall and there's nothing you can do with it. So you're telling Facebook, you must spend this money here, you must spend this money here, you must spend this money here, as opposed to if you build your campaign correctly, you could actually have 50 pieces of content all competing with each other to see which one's successful. So at the campaign level, you're determining your objective. At the ad set level, you're determining your targeting, which means who are you showing it to, audience. Your placement, is it going on Facebook, Instagram, all of the above, and budget. Now, I put an asterisk next to budget because once upon a time, you could only set your budget at the ad set level, but today you can actually set it at the campaign level as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. It's actually a really cool update because it used to be you could only A/B test things within an ad set, but with campaign budget optimization, now you can test things at the campaign level. So everything within the campaign can be running against itself. So we'll talk more about that in a bit. And then at the ad level, you're testing creative. So this is where like you might want to like try long form copy versus short form. You might want to try a video versus a photo versus a carousel, minimal tweaks to see what works. And that's what you're testing at the ad level. So at the campaign level, like I said, you're testing, you're checking, you're selecting your objective. That's it. Pretty much. At the ad set level, you are doing your audience, which again, if you missed session 2, go back and rewatch it. But this is where you're building out your audience. So who do you want to be talking to with this ad set? And then placement. So Facebook recommends you run it everywhere and they will decide, or you can do manual placements. I highly recommend, unless you have a very good reason, that you run everywhere because Facebook is smarter than us. We will never outsmart Facebook and say, oh, I'm going to do this here and that there. Facebook knows. So I have run a ton of ads and there have been many where I think, oh, this will do well on Instagram. And then I run it and like it's been 3 cents on Instagram and 99.9% of the budget on Facebook. Facebook will not divvy up your money evenly. They will very quickly decide where it's best performing. And then they will put all of your money there, which is the beauty of the ability to A/B test, as opposed to if you try to do all these like different campaigns and you're trying to outsmart Facebook when you tell it what it must do instead of giving it the tools to do whatever it wants because its platform is smarter than its users. So like it knows what we need. So if you just let it run everywhere. So when you run ads, maybe you didn't know this, when you set up a Facebook ad, you can by default run ads on Facebook, Instagram, Audience Network, and Messenger. Messenger has become less and less of a thing. Audience Network is usually nothing, although I have seen in some industries, especially related to homes, so like a handyman, that kind of stuff, like it can actually occasionally do really well. But generally, your ad budget is going into Facebook and or Instagram. And again, unless I have a very good reason, I just leave it at default and let it run everywhere. I don't split it up between the two. You'll notice within Facebook and Instagram, you can actually break it up. So it's like running in feeds. It's only running in stories. It's running in reels. Like there's all kinds of choices you have within platform. I just let it run everywhere and see what's working. But that is an option you have. And then, like I said, you can set your budget at the ad set level or the campaign level. At the ad set level and the campaign level, you have the option to do a daily budget or a lifetime budget. So if you want to do a daily budget of $20 or a lifetime budget of $100 for 7 days, whatever it is, you get to decide how much money to spend and how quickly. I will give one quick, very important caveat. One of the coolest things about Facebook compared to most other platforms, when you buy a billboard, when you buy a radio ad, when you buy a magazine ad, you are spending that $2,000 whether or not it's working, right? You put up a billboard and you buy a 3-month contract and you pay them $2,000 for that billboard. No leads come in, don't matter. You're still paying those checks for the next 3 months. With Facebook, you're not committing to spend anything except what you've already spent. So if I said I was going to spend $2,000 over 3 months, and after 3 days, I decide I'm not happy with the results, I can turn that ad off, and all I've spent is the $70 that I've already spent. I'm not committing to spend $2,000. I'm simply committing to spend whatever has been spent. So that's like a really important way to understand that, like, you're not saying, you don't have to spend the money just because you tell Facebook you're going to. You can turn it off at any time. But once you spent it, you cannot get it back. So it's very important to be paying attention to your ads, to say the least. And then at the ad level is creative. So here is where you can throw in a photo, throw in your text, test long form and short form text, test videos, test carousels, all kinds of fun stuff like that. So that's at the ad level. You can also, you'll notice here I have create ad selected, but if I switch that to use existing post, so if I click that drop down menu from create ad to use existing post, when I do that, I have the option to select a post, and I can actually select any post that I've shared publicly on Facebook or Instagram. So remember when I said don't boost posts on Facebook, but it's okay to boost posts on the ads manager? This is how you should be doing it. Go into the ads manager and select a post that's already live to put money behind. So it's the equivalent of boosting a post, but there's like 100 reasons to do it here instead. One, you'll have better access to audiences. Two, you'll have better access to setting up your hierarchy correctly. Three, you'll have better access to objective optimization. So like choosing what your actual objective is with the ad. So there's a lot of reasons to never hit boost post on Facebook. But if you want to lift up a post on Facebook or Instagram, it's very easy to do so. And I actually do that all the time for some of my clients. So that is campaign hierarchy. We're going to go through a couple more pieces of ads, and then I'm going to actually jump into the ads manager and take any questions y'all have. So, okay, so for budgeting, we sort of talked about this already a little bit, but you can set a daily budget or a lifetime budget wherever you want, and you can set that budget here or here. So the difference is actually huge, and it's important to understand the difference. So if you set your budget at the ad set level, the ads within that ad set are A/B testing against each other. So right now I've got, you can see I have 2 ad sets and 5 ads in each, so 10 ads total. So right now, maybe let's say I'm trying to sell shoes and I have 1 ad set only targeting men and 1 ad set only targeting women. And then I have 5 pieces of creative in each one. If I set my budget at the ad set level and say, okay, I want to spend $50 a day on men and $50 a day on women, I am telling Facebook, I have $100 to spend, but you must spend $50 a day on men and $50 a day on women. But what you do with that money is up to you. I'm giving you 5 pieces of creative. You decide where that money is best spent in the ads, right? Like you're A/B testing those ads. But if I set the budget at the campaign level instead of the ad set level, so if I take it up a notch in the pyramid and I say, nope, you have $100 a day, do whatever you want with it, Facebook might decide that men's ads are not running as well as women's ads. And I might look back after a couple of days and see that they've only spent $10 a day for men and $90 a day for women, because now every single one of those 10 ads is competing with all of them. So I've literally taken the budget up the pyramid and given it more A/B testing opportunities. There are times where you say, no, I want $50 a day on men and I want $50 a day on women. And there are times where you say, I don't care who's seeing this. I just need to get the most bang for my buck. And that's where, like, if it doesn't matter which audience is seeing it or which placement, there's a lot of benefits to doing campaign budget optimization. There are times, however, where you absolutely want to show different products with different budgets and they all have the same objective, but like different ad sets within. So it's like, there's no right answer here. It's, are you thinking about it smartly? And that's the only question that matters. Like, do you understand why you chose campaign versus ad set? I run a ton of ads. I regularly do campaign budgeting and I regularly do ad set budgeting, and it all depends on what my goals are. So that's campaign versus ad set budgeting. Okay, naming convention. So I'm going to throw this out because I audit a ton of campaigns and I just see this mistake, or like I jump into campaigns, ads managers, and I'm like, oh my God, this is just a mess. Because one of the biggest mistakes people make is relates to naming conventions. So I would not worry too much about going backwards, especially with campaigns, but with audiences, you might. But certainly moving forward, have a naming convention. So I'm going to walk you through my naming conventions. So naming convention, it's like, are you looking for a needle in a haystack, or are you going to the book and saying, I know exactly where that is? These are my cute little graphics to demonstrate. Okay, so RC stands for reverbal communications. When I run ads, I use RC as a shorthand so that I can search easily for my own things, as well as my clients can see what I set up versus they did. Okay, I am targeting this ad to women who are 25 to 45. They are in Wisconsin and they are parents and they have a college degree or higher, meaning college degree, master's degree, PhD. So I named my audience RC Women 20. So I know exactly who's in that audience. If I am trying to build ads to this audience, I know exactly what I'm looking for. I cannot tell you how often people name those audiences just the date or something like that. It's like, what good is that to anybody? If you don't know what the audience is called, you can't use it again. So you look at my audience, you know exactly what that audience is and you can test it. here's a typical like audience name for one of my like campaigns. RC, Reverbal Communications. Video View, that's my objective. Q3, Q3. Tofu, top of funnel. Moms plus college degree. So I'm saying that this is a video view ad for Q3 to people that don't really know our brand, but must be moms and have a college degree. So you can see how that is a much more useful way to think about naming than the date or, you know, whatever happens to be top of mind at that moment. So for naming conventions, I 100% of the time use naming conventions for audiences. I try to be as clear as possible when I'm naming an audience. And I 100% of the time, I have good naming conventions for campaigns. And then I usually have good naming conventions for ad sets, but it depends. Sometimes you do have a flat pyramid. There's only going to be one thing in that campaign. So like whatever, but like generally speaking, the more clear the ad set is, the better. For ads, I rarely have good naming conventions. It's typically a number. If I'm going to be A/B testing things, I'll be A/B testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can use that for UTM codes on Google. Like whatever I need that for, it's there. But it's really simple to just like go back and be like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whereas the ad set, it's like women, 25 plus, live in Madison, whatever. And for campaign, you know, even higher level. So, so this is what I use naming conventions for always. Okay, so test creative, then test it some more. And like I said, we'll hop into the ads manager. We're almost done with slides. So like this is almost the end of my slides. So these are a couple just like top level things to remember when it comes to creative. Good design doesn't always win. In fact, it often doesn't. You would be amazed how often the like crappy iPhone photo or crappy iPhone video outperforms the really beautiful graphic or really highly produced video. You would be amazed. I mean, it's like, it's both like shocking and a gift because the fact that it's true takes some of the pressure off you. I have A/B tested gorgeous graphics from like amazing designers against crappy photos, and almost always the crappy photo I don't mean crappy like it's not a good photo, but I mean, we're not talking professional headshot here. We're talking about like somebody with an iPhone taking a photo at an event, like almost always outperforms because people want to see things on Facebook and Instagram that look like other things they see on Facebook and Instagram. And as soon as you bring your TV ad or your glitzy magazine ad, people just kind of like glaze right past it. So I'm not telling you that's true for you. I'm telling you it's often true for me, and you should absolutely test it for yourself. You should test images and carousels, which means multiple images together, and videos. You never know which one's going to work. Feel free to test. I have found carousels almost never work well for me. I still test them sometimes. Images and videos, for sure, I test. Test long form content and short form content. Everybody says short works, and that's true. But you know what? I've had audiences that love long form content. So if you want to like pull out your, you know, your copywriter pen and like write a 10 paragraph version and a 2-sentence version, test them against each other. It's the beauty of A/B testing. You can test as many things as you want and figure out what's working. Test which audiences you're running to. So like you might want to run an audience that only cares about health and fitness when it comes to tennis shoes, or only cares people that like Peloton, or maybe test with no specifics and just go with like, you know, people in this area of this age and just let Facebook figure it out. You can A/B test, and this is a place where you would not use a campaign budget optimization. You would have like a $20 a day, I'm making up a number, but let's say a $20 a day budget for 3 different audiences and see which one performs the best, and then turn off 2 of them and put all your budget into the third. So like you can test your audiences. Landing pages are super important. And if you are spending money sending people to a website that is not well optimized, you're wasting money. So like, that is definitely a big old question for you. If I'm running ads for, you know, tennis shoes, and I send them just like to some random landing page that doesn't even mention tennis shoes because you're a fitness company, and I have to go searching, finding the store, I can pretty much guarantee your conversion rate will be close to 0. The easier it is for people to get from your ad to what they want, the better you're going to be. So keep that in mind. So the short answer here, though, as with everything, is test, test, test. The more you test, the better off you'll be. And you can test at the ad set level. So test different audiences, test different placements if you want. You can certainly test at the ad level, clearly, like that's where the creative's happening. And occasionally you can even test here. So remember I mentioned earlier that you might not have enough conversions to like run a conversion ad that's successful. Well, you can try it, and you can also test a traffic ad, and you can test those against each other and see how they do. I'm spending $20 a day on a traffic ad, $20 a day on a sales ad, which is a conversion ad. And actually I'm getting better metrics with the the traffic ad. So let me just put my money there while Facebook figures out what's going on and then work into it. So that is absolutely something I do, but not as often as I test ad sets and ads. I'm going to stop sharing that, and I'm going to pull up our ads manager. Just one second. One second. Are there any? Okay, no questions in the chat yet. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen. One second. Okay, can y'all see my screen? Sarah, you guys are good?
Yes, looks good.
Okay, cool. So here's my ad screen. Okay, so this is my ads manager. I don't really use this account. I run tons and tons of ads, and pretty much none of them are for myself. I run ads for clients, but I have run ads in here. So so I'm in my ads manager. Again, if you don't know what an ads manager is, go back to session 1. We talked about it, but the ads manager is where you run the ads. So I'm going to hit create, and you'll see some very familiar things here, right? So let's just do a traffic ad. I want to send people to my website. So now RC traffic test SMBMad FB ads event, whatever. That is not a great name, but you get the sense. This is where you would select if any categories are relevant. So are you doing anything related to credit, employment, housing, or social or political issues? If so, you need to select the according one. That is a session for another day. This is where you would turn on or off your campaign. They keep changing what everything's called. So it's called Advantage Campaign Budget now. It used to be called Campaign Budget Optimization. But this is where if you turn this on, you can set your budget here. And if you turn it off, you'll set it at the ad set. To get to the ad set, I have 3. So I've now, that's everything. Like I told you, all you're doing here is selecting objective. So now I have 3 different options to move forward because Facebook is both like clunky and redundant. So I can either click here, I can click here, or I can simply click next. All 3 of those will take me to the same place. Here to the ad set, here to the ad set, or next. So let's click next. So this will be shoe website, landing page, whatever. Like I said, just throwing stuff out there. Okay. So from here, I can select where do I want people to actually engage with my ad? So do I want to send them to my website? I would check that. If I want them to call me or send me messages or WhatsApps, I could select that. This is where, because I did not select campaign budget optimization, I could choose daily budget or lifetime budget. So let's say $100. If you do a lifetime budget, you have to pick an end date. If you do a daily budget, you don't. So let's say I want to run this for a week, whatever. And then here's where I would select my audiences. So let's go ahead and do Madison marketers plus Facebook admins. So you'll notice this is my own stuff, so I don't use the RC, but like very clear what this is. And then Advantage Plus placements recommended, leaving that as is. Whoops.
Hey, Josh,
next.
while you're on that screen, we did have a question come through the chat that says, what is your recommended naming convention for campaigns, ad sets, and ads? I know you briefly ran through kind of how you name those audiences, but just any more here that you want to point out?
Yeah, so the most important thing is the naming convention is for you and other people on your team who might be involved in your ad. So like all that really matters is, does it work for you? That's the important part, not does it work for, some Madison Avenue, it doesn't matter. So just as specific as possible. Like if you are running ads to men of a certain age, of a certain whatever, their parents, like adding that. So with campaign level, it's about like so essentially you're putting in what you're testing, right? So in the campaign level, you're putting in what is the goal of this ad? What is your objective? At the ad set level, you're putting in who am I targeting this to? And if there's a creative breakdown you're testing. So like this is going to be 3 videos, and then I'm also going to do one that's going to be a bunch of photos. So I would say I would specify video, something like that. So it's really about like, it's shorthand for you, but it needs to be shorthand enough, not so shorthand that other people couldn't understand it if you have a team. So, somebody pops in there, could they like look at it and be like, I know what you're doing? If the answer is yes, great. You don't want it to be super long. Like you could see they're pretty, like even these are like abbreviated. So you want to keep them short and sweet. So the more you can kind of like find, like to be honest, I would never write out women. I would write W, comma, because I just know like that's my shorthand. And once somebody learned that, it would be easy, and M obviously for men. So
Josh, I'll also hop in. Hi, everyone. This is Sarah from Social Media.
She's also on the board.
I also have some personal experience with this. At my previous job, I worked with our marketing operations team to come up with naming conventions for campaigns, ad sets, ads, because we had a different set of reporting software that we pulled it into. So we wanted all of our digital advertising to be named in similar ways. And it was actually incredibly powerful once we aligned around those naming conventions, because we were able to prove how well our social ads were performing compared to other types of digital ads that we were running, and ultimately got more budget to run social ads.
Oh, I love that. I mean, yeah. So I work with a lot of very small teams and small campaigns. Like when I get brought on, it's usually because they don't have 20 people running ads and things like that. So I kind of like have my metrics, but yeah, I love to hear how like a bigger company with like using complicated software was like able to like use it to actually optimize their end results. So that's awesome, Sarah. Any Addison, did that answer your question? Was that helpful?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay. So here is where you can select your Facebook and Instagram accounts. If you don't, so here's a fun fact. Whether or not you have an Instagram account, you can run Instagram ads. They will create a dummy Instagram account that matches your Facebook page, which is cool and problematic because it's not a real page. So people can't actually like do anything with the page. But if you didn't have an Instagram account, you could just like select like use, I can't remember the exact language, but essentially you just click this drop down menu and select it and it'll just create a dummy account. So the point is it's nice because you could still drive traffic to your site. You could still do lead ads. You could still do video view ads on Instagram, even if your brand isn't on Instagram. Obviously, it's a little bit less beneficial to use a dummy account than your own account, but you don't have to go create an Instagram account just to run Instagram ads, which is pretty cool, in my opinion. So here is where we can create an ad or use an existing post. So if I click use existing post, it'll let me pull from my Insta and Facebook page, but I'm going to hit create ad. And then you'll see I can do a single image or video, a carousel. There's like a lot of different things here. So this is my ad, primary text.
We had another question come in the chat here about carousels.
Yep.
For carousels, do you have best practices, ideal number of photos? Do you see more success with videos versus carousels?
Yeah, my honest answer with carousels is don't run them. I've been testing carousels for like 10 years and it's so rare that they perform well. But I mean, by all means, feel free to test it. But like, man, carousels just never seem to work well. So the short answer is I don't have a good number of photos you should test because they just like almost never work for me. That said, if you've got like a cool carousel that tells a story, great. But like if you're just like taking a bunch of pictures that don't necessarily fit together, I would personally like rather just so if I was you and I was going to do a carousel, I would also take, assuming those photos stood alone, I would A/B test each of the photos and then do a carousel as like, so let's say you have 5 photos, I'd test the 5 against each other and add in a 6th that was the carousel. But there's no right answer with carousels because I just find they don't work. Video can be very powerful. I've seen video do really well, but it has to look native to the platform and it has to be short. That's my 2 biggest takeaways. I've rarely, I mean, again, it is all about like what your goals are. I work political campaigns. There are times I'm running TV ads on Facebook because that's what we have. But the stuff that does really well is like the candidate holding the phone up, like standing next to their kid or their dog, telling a story in 15 or 30 seconds about why they're the right person for the race. Those are the ads that tend to really perform well. If your goal is just to show your TV ad, of course, like show your TV ad. But if your goal is to like actually like build connections, bring conversions, lo-fi tends to outperform hi-fi. Again, I don't know. That's a question for somebody with like a psychology degree. I don't know why that is about people. That's just what I have found personally. And I'm not alone in that finding. But the beauty of all of this is you can test as many ads as you want within an ad set. So you can literally do like 10 if you want, and like have this. The biggest thing I'll tell you about ad testing, only have one difference between the different ads within an ad set, because otherwise you don't know what's working and what's not working. So like I wouldn't do a carousel and a video and a photo and then a separate version that's long form text and a separate version that's short form text. And like I would do like the short form version with the 3 pieces of creative and then a separate ad set that's a long form version with the 3 pieces of creative. So like the more you can minimize the differences, the easier it'll be to know why something performed well versus another thing. If you've got like 7 changes within your ad set, like one's going to outperform the rest, but you'll have no idea why. So the less you deviate within them, the better. Okay. So I have some random photos I selected. So I'm going to go ahead and pick an image here. Actually, I probably already have some uploaded, come to think of it. So let's talk about targeting. Okay. So now you'll notice I can do recommended or I can zoom in. Now for this, zooming in doesn't really look good, right? So I'm going to need to go to original, which is going to make this ad not look as good. So that's fine. It probably won't do well. And then for this one, I can move it around if I want to just limit it to that, or I can go to original. It's up to me. But you'll notice like it won't show up in certain places if you don't have, and you can replace at that level. So if you want to create 3 versions of the image, you can do it, or you can just go with recommended. So like for this, I might just go with that because it looks kind of cool. For this one, just going to go with like not perfect. It'll still run. And then for this one, it is optimized, right? So you can select whether or not to turn on and off optimizations. I haven't found much of a difference here, but it's fine if you want to use it. So now you'll see here, I have 3 different places to put text: primary, headline, and description, right? And then I have a call to action button. So 1 second. Okay, so now my call to action, let's just put in my website, whatever. So now, and for the call, okay, so the things that I can change are the image, of course, the primary ad text, the headline. This is called display text. I don't know why it keeps doing that. It's annoying, but I can't like look at both. It's called description, excuse me, and then the call to action. So I can change those 5 things. So I'm not going to change the ad right now, but let's change the call to action to. Sometimes there's an option depending on the type to like have no button. I don't have that now, so let's just go with subscribe. So if I'm trying to get people to sign up for my newsletter, like I'm going to use the subscribe button, right? So like now it's switched from learn more to subscribe. And you can A/B test your call to action buttons. You could literally run 6 identical ads, one that says download now, one that says sign up, one that says subscribe, and one that says learn more. You can literally test those against each other if you want. And that's a place where you definitely want to put into the ad name, like part of your naming convention is which button you're testing. So it's like, what are you testing at that level? That's what needs to be in the naming convention. So here you'll notice I have my, real quick, the destination copy. That's what I had mentioned. Display link. I can change what this link says. So right now it says joshclemens.com. If I instead wanted it to say SMBMad.org, there was a time I was allowed to do that. That time is no longer. I highly recommend you never change the headline, or excuse me, the display text, because it will almost always get the ad rejected. It was something scammers used to use back in the day. They would send you to some spammy website, but tell you it was CNN.com or whatever. And so people were like taking advantage of that. And Facebook still lets you do it, but pretty much rejects anything that changes the ad. So, but they will minimize it to the .com. They won't. So if I had like a bunch of dashes and slashes to get to a blog post, it would still just say joshclemens.com. So you don't really have to worry about that. So primary text, headline, description. So check this out. Here's my, and let's just change these names. 1 second. This is my headline. This is my description. So what's cool is you can see exactly where things are. Here's a problem though. Check it out. When I go to this ad, what is not there? My headline and my description. As I go through these, I'll see that different pieces come and go. So one of the big mistakes people make when building out ad creative is they put too much into the headline and not repeat it into the, so like when this ad runs on Instagram, there literally won't be a headline. So it is extremely important that your headline not be doing too much heavy lifting because it will disappear on Instagram. So unless you're going to have a completely separate ad version on Instagram, you're just not going to have the headline there. So what I personally do, I use the headline to try to get attention, but I make sure that the primary text tells the entire story. So that's the, and the third one that this description is garbage. Like it won't show up in 90%. I run political ads. It doesn't show up in any of those because that's where the disclaimer goes. It just won't show up in a lot of places, but the primary text shows up everywhere. So my recommendation is use the primary text for everything that matters. Use the headline to get attention, but bear in mind, like I've seen people ask a question in the headline and then answer it in the primary text, but like the headline shows up underneath, not on top of. So right there, it's kind of confusing. And B, when it shows on Instagram, it doesn't even show up at all. So like the better bet is to make sure the primary text stands alone and says everything it needs to. And then you've got your headline to just try to like get attention. But you can change all of that on a dime and you can see what it's going to look like in all these places. Like I said, there are some places where my video or my image just didn't work. It just won't run, right? So like that's that. So let's say I'm happy with everything here and I hit, 1 second, let me get that out of the way. So let's say I'm happy with everything here. So I hit publish. I'm not going to actually do that. And now I am at the, so check it out. I have my campaign. Here's my ad, which obviously this is like not a well-named thing. I was just kind of throwing stuff out. And here's my ad. Now, let's say I wanted to create 3 more versions that were identical except for the image. So the easiest way to do that is to hit, I'm just going to show you again, view charts, edit, duplicate pin. I'm going to hit duplicate existing campaign, and then I can actually create as many as I want. So I'll just create 3. I'm going to duplicate those. And again, I told you can only get, my recommendation is you only have a single change per ad. So like you're not confusing, you're if I change too much, it's not helpful. So for this, what I'm going to do is go to this one. And this is where I might name this like number 2 versus number 1, right? But for number 2, I'm going to go here and I'm going to edit the media. I'm going to delete the media, add new media, add an image, and now here's a different graphic that I've got. Whatever. Original. So now I've got these 2 different, everything is identical except for the graphic, right? And so now I can like learn something when I test these, like which of these is going to outperform the other. So I've got 1, 2, and then I can obviously do the same thing for 3 and 4. But now I've got 4 different images. And then when I'm done, let's say I've got all that tapped in, if I wanted to, I could literally then duplicate the ad set if I wanted to. And I could do long form, duplicate, and I could go in here and I could edit my 4 ads all at once and say, this is my ad primary text. Let's test out a long version of the same concept. I wonder how it will perform compared to short text. So now I hit publish on that. Whoops. I hit publish on that. And now let me just walk you through, like I just built a pyramid, right? So we have a single optimization. My goal is just to drive traffic to my website, right? I have a terrible naming convention, but you get the idea. So this is, this is short form copy. This is long form copy. So now I have, you'll notice here, I have from my campaign, I have 2 ad sets, and within each of those ad sets, I have 4 ads. Now, obviously, all of this is garbage, like I didn't actually build anything real, but I now have 8 ads running across 2 ad sets across 1 campaign. That's a real pyramid that I just built, and you could see once I had the first one done, it wasn't hard to build the rest because I could just like duplicate things until it made sense. So it's not like, oh, it took me an hour to build the first one and an hour to build the second one and an hour to build the third one. It might have taken me an hour to build the first one and then 5 minutes to build the other 7. But now I've given Facebook 8 different pieces of creative to test against each other. So I have images 1, 2, 3, and 4, short form and long form copy. So there's literally 8 different versions of this ad running around. And if I set my budget at the campaign level, not the ad set level, I'm telling Facebook, you have 8 options to figure out which of these works best. And then now it's my job to go check the analytics and see, but Facebook will take care of 90% of this for me, 99% of it for me. They will figure out like, okay, this long form version of image 2 is definitely your best performer, and all of my money will get put there. If I put it at the ad set level, I'd be telling it you have to spend 50% of the budget on short form copy, 50% on long form copy, which makes no sense. The whole point was to see which one performed better. Why would I want to waste 50% of my budget on the underperformer? I want 100% of my budget to go to the top performer. The difference is if my ad sets were one was just to men, or let's say one was just to Chicago and one was just to Minneapolis, whatever. I'm trying to like grow an audience in these other cities. And I know that Minneapolis might be cheaper, but I need to build an audience in Chicago too. Okay, fine. So like 50% of my budget must go to Chicago, 50% to Minneapolis. But generally speaking, for most people, like you don't really care which one's performing better. You want like the money to go where it's working best. So it's better to just go with campaign budget. But again, totally an option. I am done talking now. We still have like 15 or more minutes. So I will answer questions. I'll walk y'all through stuff. We can literally, if one of y'all wants to share your screen, we can like talk about how to build ads together. So yeah, I'm going to turn it over to y'all now.